नमस्कारः स्वागतम् अद्य स्थिरवासरः शनिवासरः दिनाङ्कः पञ्चविंशतितमः पञ्चविंशः 25th of August. Today is the last class of the Tingantam Prakaranam. Today is the last class of that. So let us do Mangalacharanam. Ramo Rajamanis Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bhiyata Nishacharachamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha Raman Nasti Paranam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham Rame Chittalaya Sada Bhutame Bhoramama Buddhara Rama Rameti Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane Shri Rama Nama Varanana On Nama Iti Atha Shri Maheshwara Sutrani I Un Rulrak E Ong I Ouch Haya Varat Lan Nyama Ng Nam Jabanj Ghadadash Jaba Gadadash Ka Pa Cha Ta Tha Cha Ta Thav Ka Pai Sha Sha Sar Hal Iti Maheshwara Sutrani. Before we begin the class, I just want to make an announcement, is that from now onwards, after this class, we're going to be changing the format of these recordings. Rather than having a webinar every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, whatever, we will now go to a system of uploading recordings for individual sections or individual rules, individual sutram. For each sutram, we will have a recording. So what we will go to from the next topic, which is the Krudanta Prakaranam, the participles, when we start that topic, we will have a new Sutra Suchi, which looks like this, Sutra Suchi Part 3. And here, after every sutram, in the document itself, there will be a video link to download the video or watch the video for that sutram. This is going to be convenient in a number of ways. You don't have to download the whole class to look at a particular sutram. Secondly, in case we have to insert a sutram in between, in case we have to make some corrections, in case we have to replace the recording, it's going to be very easy to do that. Not only that, I also sent an email to Brahmachari Shankarji, and he was also saying that this can also open up the possibility of taking a sutram to different levels. We can have maybe, right now it's going to be the same level as we are doing the classes, but somebody later on may want to add details from Mahabhashyam or from this or from that. So this can also be added. So this will be a much more flexible way to have these smaller recording files covering each individual rule. And it'll be also, we don't have to be tied down to our schedule of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, like that. So this what we will do is that we will just like we're uploading the posts and the comments. A similar way, we'll upload these recordings. We'll send an email to the group that the recordings have been uploaded. So everybody can, whoever wants, can download them at their convenience. And that way it'll be convenient for us and for those who want to download. So that's going to be the new system. I'll also repeat this at the end of the class just so everybody knows. This will be the last webinar as such. We'll continue with recordings, we'll continue with the examples, we'll continue with the comments. So nothing is changing in that sense, but we will no longer have a fixed time webinar. Instead, we will have these recordings being uploaded on a continuous basis. So also one more thing is that I was talking to Ravi in the beginning of the class. By the way, thanks to Ravi for recording very diligently all these years. But from now on, let's say in winter time or in holiday time, if I have more time, then I can upload more sutras in those days. We don't have to wait for a class in 3 weeks, or sometimes there are not even enough examples to post. Then what we can do is we can go ahead and take up new sutras and post them, and so on and so forth. It will be very flexible. Be very flexible for everybody. And also, like for example, last week I made an error. I made a small error which I'm going to correct right now. in this form kanduyate, I made an error in the class, in the document also, which I'm going to correct today. But if this happens again, we will just simply replace that particular file. We'll retire the incorrect file and we'll upload a new file. So it'll be very easy. So there's no need to carry these corrections in these errors forward. So you just simply replace the file for that sutram. And this is a continuous process. There are going to be some corrections, some errors. Of course, we're trying to keep them as minimum as possible. But anybody can later on come and annotate these, make some comments that there was an error in this document here, or simply retire that file and upload a new file. So all that can be done. So today I'm going to correct an error right now. So in short, the format of the class is going to change from today through the last webinar. From now on, what we will have is we will have these recordings being uploaded. Similar, in terms of discussing the sutram and discussing the examples and taking, questions, answers. All that will not change. Nothing is changing there. Only thing which is changing is that we are making it more flexible so that we are not tied to we are not bound by the schedule, because most people listen to the recordings, not to the live class. So we are not going to lose any interaction as such. But it'll make it easier on everybody to maintain this system, and more importantly, to improve it and to correct it. As we go along. Okay, so now last correction from last class. In the excitement of finishing up all the derivation, the prakriya, the Tinganta prakriya, which is the heart of Panini. This is really the heart of Panini, because the reason we say heart of Panini is that without Panini Sutrani, it is nearly impossible to derive all these verbal forms. How many forms are you going to memorize? You cannot keep on memorizing bhavati, bhavataha, bhavanti. It's like memorizing multiplication tables. It doesn't make any sense. You're better off learning how to multiply than memorizing multiplication tables. Similarly, rather than memorizing these verbal forms, it makes much more sense to learn how to derive these forms. And that is where Panini excels. Of course, Panini excels in many ways, but this is really indispensable part of Panini. So this is what we're going to finish. We already finished actually last time, but in the excitement of finishing that, I made one mistake. Okay, what was the mistake? When we were discussing this sutram, Kandvadibhyo yak, we went through the vrittihi and we saw how the terms in the Kandvadi ganaha, they can be used. They have a pratipadika rupam, they have a dhatu rupam. Means they can be looked upon as a pratipadikam or as a dhatu, like kandu. Kandu can also be used as a pratipadikam. Decline like vadhu shabdaha. We can also be looked as a dhatu. And when it is used as a dhatu, that is when this sutram Kandvadibhyo yak applies. One fundamental thing which I forgot in the last class is that this Kandvadibhyo yak, look at the number, is 3127. Kandvadibhyo yak, it comes in the adhikara of this Sanadyanta Dhatavaha, in the section of Sanadyanta Dhatavaha, which we have been seeing repeatedly, but I still forgot to put that detail in the last class. So Kandvadibhyo yak is 3127. When we add the Pratyaha yak to a term in the Kandvadi ganaha, which is when used as a dhatu, then we create a new dhatu, a sadhita dhatu, a derived dhatu, what Panini calls sanadi dhatu. And then that new term gets the dhatu sanya by sanadyanta dhatava, which I completely forgot to mention, the derivation. So the correct derivation should be as follows, which is the final form was correct in the last class. Final form was correct. The derivation should be as follows. You take kandu and add yak by Kandvadibhyo yak. Yak is a kit. So by kiniticha stops the gunadesha, which would have been done by sarvadhatuka ardhatuka yoho. And then anubandha lopaha by halantyam tasya lopaha. And then now what happened? This part was missing in the last class. Kanduya gasthatu sanya by sanadyanta dhatavaha. That part was missing in the last document, the last class. Since then we have already posted examples, so you can see in the post, all these posts are correct. these posts are correct. We had it correctly. We did the Sanadhyanta. In fact, at the time of putting the post, I realized that we had a mistake in the class. So Sanadhyanta Dhatavaha Kanduya gets the Dhatu Sanya, and then we derived the form. So all the posts were correct. Only thing, the last class itself, when we are deriving this form Kanduyate, this step was not clearly put over here. Kanduya gets Dhatu Sanya Sanadhyanta Dhatavaha. And then what happens is that we add the usual lat kartari. Vatamurusha ekvachanam, bring in the pratyaya lat by vartamane lat, anubandha lopaha, upadesha jananasika it, halantyam tasya lopaha. Then because of this kanduing has the chavarga panchamanyakara as it, we know that suritajñataha kartrivipraya kriyaphale. You can get atmanipadam kartrivipraya kriyaphale. We can also use the default parasyapadam by sheshat kartari parasyapadam. So we get the pratyaya ta or tip, anubandha lopaha vartip halantyam tasya lopaha. Then tita atmanipadanam tere becomes te. And now this step was also missing in the prior document, this kartari shap. I cannot believe that after 1.5 years of deriving Tingan forms, we forgot kartari shap. that is embarrassing. Lajjitosmi. Anyway, Vrusham Lajjitosmi. After 1.5 years of deriving the most complex forms, I forgot kartari shap. So kartari shap was missing in this document, because even without kartari shap we get the same form kanduya. That's not the point. The point is that kanduya has got dhatu sanya, and we have a pratyaya which is sanya of sarvadhatukam, which is following, and it is kartari pravaga. So kartari shap has to come. Kartari shap cannot be just bypassed like that. So this is an embarrassing mistake. So anyway, kartari shap comes. Then anubandha lopaha lashakvatadite halantyam tasya lopaha. And then of course we get ato gune pura parayoho eka rupam. Ato gune is the pararupam eka rupam, and then ekadesha pararupam ekadesha, and then kanduyate kanduyati. Okay, so last class correction. The correction is that when we add pratyaha yak to kandu, because this yak is prescribed by sutram in this section of sanadhyanta dhatavaha, kandu gets the dhatu sanya by sanadhyanta dhatavaha. This step was missing. The step means what was missing was that this dhatu sanya by sanadhyanta dhatavaha. Then the derivation, what happens is that the step of kartari shap was missing. Kartari shap was missing. So kartari shap comes by 3168. Nothing can stop that. And then anubandha lopaha, the lashak vatidite halantyam tasya lopaha, and then ato gune pura parayoha ekadesha, pararupam ekadesha. Between this akaraha and this akara here, we get the ekadesha, which is the para akaraha, the later akaraha, where kanduyate. Okay, so this was the correction from last class. Sanadhyanta dhatava dhatu sanya and kartari shap has to be introduced. The form was correct, but that the steps were, one step was off. Now, the reason this confusion also may have come is that this yak pratyaha is, the pratyaha yak is also prescribed by sutram, which is 3167, which you use all the time in the passive. Sarvadhatuke yak bhavakarmanoho ityanuvartate. So this yak is when this yak comes, right? Then we don't do kartari shap again, because kartari shap is only sarvadhatuke. Here yak has sanya of ardhatukam. So I think the confusion came because when we use this yak in the passive sense, after that there is no shap, because this yak in the passive is only bhavakarmanoho. Is bhavakarmanoho. Not only that, yak has sanya of ardhatukam. So after adding this yak from prescribed by 3167, after that there is no kartari shap, because shap is only kartari. Well, the yak of 3167 only comes bhavakarmanoho. So the same pratyaya yak, but when prescribed by 3127, it applies in a completely different way. It creates a new dhatu by sanadhyanta dhatavaha, and when we use that new dhatu, the derived dhatu, In Kartri Prayogaha, of course, we can use. That time Kartri Shap has to be used. So that was the confusion. Is that the yak prescribed by 3127 creates a new dhatu, vasanadhyanta dhatavaha, and then if you use Kartri Prayogaha, we have to use Kartri Shap. In contrast to that, if we are bringing the pratyaya yak by this 3167, of course, this pratyaya yak by 3167 can only come sarvadhatuke. So this pratyaya yak comes into a different step. But after the yak comes over here, this yak is only coming bhava karmanoho. So after that, there is no kartari shap. So in short, when 3167 yak is used, there is no kartari shap. There is no occasion for kartari shap. But when 3127 is used, the same pratyaya yak, it comes and creates a new dhatuhu, and that time we definitely have to use kartari shap if it's a kartari prayoga. Okay, so that was the correction from last time. So this is the correct derivation. Now we first get a dhatu sanya sanadhyanta dhatavaha, then we kartari prayogaha. We definitely have to bring kartari shap, then do ato gune ekadeshaha, and then we get the form sukanduyate. This is what I'm saying. See, when we go to our new class format, when we upload the recordings for each individual sutram, what I could have done is simply either edit the recording, or I could replace the recording with another recording which has the correct form in that. So I don't have to make you suffer through the errors. Of course, we correct them as far as possible, but in case there is an error, we just retire the recording and put a new recording for that sutram. We don't have to go and mess with the whole class. Okay, now let's go to our continuing with the prior class. Last class we finished up with looking at a few rules which prescribe Atmane Padam. Let us go to the Ashtadhyay. One thing we always mention in this class is keep an eye on the Ashtadhyay. Even though we are doing the Kaumudi Kramaha, we are taking the order of the Siddhanta Kaumudi to derive all these forms. Never lose sight of the Ashtadhyay. The Ashtadhyay is the Mula Shastram. So there is a good reason why Panini pushed sutras in a certain way. So in the Ashtadhyay, which we have repeatedly looked at, is section starting from Anudattanyata Atmanipadam. So when to use Atmanipadam, when to use Parasyapadam. That is the topic discussed by Panini, covered by Panini from 1.3.12 to the end of 1.3. Prathamasya adhyayasya tritiye pade padavyavastha kriyate. And Atmanipadam goes all the way down, and then from 1.3.78 starts Sheshat Kartari Parasyapadam. So that is what we were discussing last time. We were discussing some special rules where Atmanipadam is to be used. We looked at many of them, and today what we will do, we'll look at the section for the Parasyapadam. We'll look at some special rules where normally Atmanipadam would have been there, but now we're going to use Parasyapadam. Now, okay. Now, so this is from after Sheshakriti Parasyapadam. There are some special rules over here. Let's see. We cannot take every sutram in the class, but let's get some flavor of when Parasyapadam is to be specifically used. As a matter of fact, we've already studied a couple of rules over here. When we did the causative forms, the Nijanta Prakaranam, we looked at these rules. Nigarana Chalanarthebhyaha. We also looked at Anavakarmaka Chittavat Kartrakat. This sutram also we have studied. So we have already looked at a couple of rules over here. But let's look at some more today. Let's look at the first sutram we look at today. Is very straightforward sutram, which is the Paradvaha. Very, very straightforward sutram. All it says is that Prapurvad Vahate He Parasyapadam Syat. So when this dhatu Vaha Parapane, when it is preceded by the Upasargaha Para, then it can only take a Parasyapadam affix. Now this Vaha Parapane, this in the dhatu parta is number 1159. It is Swarita It. It's the it letter, and that has a Swarita intonation on that. So let me see if I can show it to you here. It's a Swarita It. So what would have happened is that Swarita Gitaha Kartavipraye Kriyaphale, it would take Atmanepadam, and by Sheshat Kartri Parasya Padam will take Parasya Padam. But now this sutram says that if we have the Upasarga Pra before, then only Parasmay Padam may be used. So see, if you look at here the Dhatu Pataha, you see this one, this Vaha Prapane is a Swarita Itta. So by 1372, Swarita Gnitaha Kartri Prai Kriya Phale Atmanepadam, and otherwise Sheshat Kartri Parasya Padam 1378. But now this sutram says that if the Upasarga Pra has been used, there is no choice. We have to use only Parasya Padam. So Pravahati, very simple example, is something flows, something moves along, Pravahati. So Pravahati, when we these Upasargas, of course, they change the meaning of the Dhatu in one way or the other. If you can go to one of the best places to look at these meanings, you can go to Apte and you can look at the meaning of Prava. Like Pravaha. Pravaha is flow. So when you want to check how a Upasarga changes the meaning of a Dhatu, you can try the various forms of that Dhatu with that Upasarga. So Pravaha is to, let's see what Apte gives, is to bear, to carry or bear along, to support, to flow, to stream forth. So it has these kinds of meanings. Anyway, this sutram says that when we use Upasarga Pra, then only Parasya Padam has to be used with the Dhatu Vaha. So we become Pravahati. So it will not take the form Pravahate, it will only be Pravahati. So very, very simple sutram. Prapurvad Vahatehe Parasya Padam Syat. One thing I always encourage you is to read the Vritti, understand the Vritti. You pay your respect to the Vrittikaraha, Siddhanta Kaumudikaraha. They have spent their whole lives for us trying to write these vrittis. So, and at simple vrittis, you can definitely get confidence in understanding them and putting them to use. Next sutra is also very similar. Parer Mrishaha. Parer Mrishaha. So Paripurvad Mrishyatehe Parasya Padam Syat. So very, very similar sutram. It says when preceded by the Upasargaha Pari, verbal lut Mrishatik Titikshayam. Comes in Gita, Harsha, Marsha, Bhavodvegaihi, Marsha is to Sahanam, is to bear. So the verbal lut Mrisha takes Parasya Padam only, with preceded by Pari. Now, this also is Dhatu Mrisha, so we look at the number 460, and that is also a Swarita Itta. That is the It letter has a Swarita Svaraha. Let me show that to you. Here it is. So 4.60. So this again the same thing by Suritagnyataha Kartravipraya Kriya Phale. Atmanepadam could have been used, but then the sutram says if Pari is Upasargaha, then only this is Swarita It. So, but doesn't matter if the Upasarga is Pari, then only Parasya Padam may be used. So here it says that Paripurvad Mrishyate Parasya Padam Syat, preceded by the Upasarga Pari, verbal lut Mrish takes only Parasya Padam and not Atmanepadam by Surita Gnitaha Kartavipraya Kriya Phale. So you get the form Parimrishyati. Also we can go to Apte and see what the meaning. I think I had the meaning here. Parimrish. Let's see what means. I think Parimrish means to like to insult or something. Parimrish or to let's see what Apte gives her. Parimrish. So Parimrish is to, to be angry with. To envy, not to insult, but to envy. To be angry with. Yeah, sorry, not to insult, but to envy or to be angry with. So Parimrishyati is only one form. There is no Atmanepadam here by 1372. Next sutram, because these are all in order, and they are all coming after 1378. Sheshat Kratri Parasya Padam. Now by this time, the Ashtadhyayi structure should be more and more setting in your mind. It should be, when you look at a sutra number, you should try to have a very good idea, because see, as I said in the beginning of the class, we had already studied Sheshat Kratri Parasya Padam, and we already studied Nigarana Chalana Arthebhyaha, as well as Anavakarmaka Chittavat Kartrakat. So you know exactly what to expect in between. You must be expecting the Parasya Pada Vidhanam. So it must be expecting Paninihi to prescribe Parasya Padam. So before even looking at the details of the sutram, we know exactly what to expect. So that is the good thing about knowing the Ashtadhyayi order. So because you know the topic involved. So this sutram also is very simple. Vyang paribhyo ramaha is Vyang pari. Vyang paribhyo ramaha. Vyang pari ityevam purvad ramatehe parasya padam syat. I will not forget this sutram. One time I was in a class and teacher said, Atra viramami, that I will now conclude, I will now stop. Virama is to desist from, to turn away from, to stop. And I said to him, it should be viramate. He said, no, it will not be viramate, it should be virame. It was Uttam Purusha Ekvachanam. So he said it will not be, because the sutram Vyang paribhyo ramaha is that normally says, this ram dhatu. Look at the number. It is 989. This is 989, and that number in the 989 is a anudat it. Anudat gnita atmanipadam. So normally we have ramate. In Bhagavad Gita many times nateshu ramate bhadaha. So ramate comes in. You see ramu kridayam and or rama iti madhavaha. But this is a anudat it. So anudatta gnita atmanepadam. Anudatta gnita atmanepadam. So the form is ramate, and Uttam Purusha Ekvachanam will be rame. Rame rame manorame. Our mangalacharanam. Rame rame manorame. Aham rame. But now what happens is that when the upasarga have vi or ang, of course ang means it has the ending nkara is an it. So or pari, when one of these three is used, then only parasya padam may be used. So Vyang pari tyevam purvat ramatehe parasya padam syat. Very straightforward sutram. So I will never forget this sutram. Because when the teacher said atra viramami, and I thought that was an error. It was not an error because I thought I was being smart by saying knowing that it is atmanipadam, but it is not, because even though dhatu rama or ramu kridayam itself is anudatai, that is correct, and normally you would expect atmanipadam to be used by anudatta atmanipadam, but this specific vishesha sutram says that if the upasarga vi, ang or pari is used with ram, then parasya padam is used. So when preceded by the upasarga vi, ang or pari, verbal root ram, ramu kridayam, takes a parasya padam affix and not the atmanipadam by vruddharthamita atmanipadam. So viramati means to stop, to desist from something, to turn around. Nivartate ityartaha. And then aramati is to relax, to enjoy, and same way pariramati is like to enjoy all around. So here this only this parasya padam may be used. Now, before concluding this topic, as I said to you in the class, we cannot take every sutram in the class. There are two rules under this sutram also, upacha and vibhasha karmakat. Comes in Bhagavad Gita. Shanai ruparamed buddhyadhiti grihitaya atma samstam manakritva na kinchidapi chintaye. Shanai ruparamed. Always keep Bhagavad Gita by your side. Shanai ruparamed buddhyadhiti grihitaya atma samstam manakritva. Okay, here it is. It is chapter 6. Shanai uparamed is parasya padam, isn't it? Parasya padam. It is ling. Vidiling. It is pratham purusha ekvachanam uparamed, like bhavet, uparamed. But then how come we didn't take atmanipadam? Because upasarga upa is there. Uparamed. And the sutram which we just looked at was this one. Vyang paribhyo. That is because in that we don't have upa. But this text sutram upacha, and actually the next sutram vibhasha karmakat will prescribe parasya padam. So if you want to do some homework, take a look at these two rules also. This one will apply in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita in verse number 625. 25th verse of chapter 6. Shanai ruparamed. Maybe this should be a shloka for you to remind you that in connection with certain upasargas, the dhatu ram takes parasya padam. शनैः शनैरुपरमेत् बुद्ध्यादित्यगृहीतया आत्मसंसम्मन कृत्वा न किञ्चिदपि चिन्तयेत् उपरमेत् परस्मैपदम्. Okay, so this concludes this topic. At least I should say this topic in brief about Atmanepadam and Parasyapadam. So before leaving this, one last time is that this whole section starts from Anudatta Gnita Atmanepadam. It continues all the way to the end of this one, and then down here starts the section about Parasyapadam from 1378 starts from here. Okay, now the next topic actually we're going to look at is something which we should have covered in the class a long time ago, and it got left out. So now we're going to just patch up that section. It's what's the sut? Something called sut. So the this is something which, as I said, let's look at this and the word Sanskritam itself. Sanskritam. How do you derive the word Sanskritam, Samskaroti, and all that? How do you derive this form? We know Karoti form, we know. The Upasarga has Sam also, we know. But then how do we get the form Samskaroti? Samskaroti. That is this element called Sut, which comes over there. Sut. So there is an Adhikaraha in the Ashtadhyayi, which runs from 6135 up to 61135 up to 61157, 61135 up to 61137. It says Sutkat Purvaha, Sutkat Purvaha, 61135 up to 61137, Sutkat Purvaha, Sutkat Purvaha. So this Sut attaches or is prescribed to come before the Kakaraha, Sutkat Purvaha. This element Sut, it comes before the Kakaraha. This is what this sutram says. Sut Kat Purvaha, Kakarat Purvaha. So this Adhikaraha goes up to this one, Paraskara Prabhuti Nicha Sanyayam. Paraskara Prabhuti Nicha Sanyayam. So these all these. So if you see a sut coming in anywhere, come to this section from 31135 to 31137. Sorry, 157. From 31135 Sutkat Purvaha to 61157 Paraskara Prabhuti Nicha Sanyayam. Okay, so what does this Adhikara Sutram say? It's very simple sutram. All it says is that read the Vrittihi. Adhikaro yam. This is Adhikara. This sets the topic. This is a topic heading. Adhikara means that it is something which presents itself in all the rules in that section. All the rules in that section will have to obey this rule. It says that Paraskar Prabhuti Nicha Sanyayam iti yavat. Up to that sutram, this one it comes. So iti yavat means it includes that 61157 also. Yavat means it includes that one also. So up to 61157 inclusive. And what did it say? The augment it, the sut is annexed immediately prior to the Kakaraha. Immediately prior to the Kakaraha. This is what this sutram says. Now normally what do? We do the Adyantau Takitau is what we do, don't we? But in this particular case, Panini specifically says that this element sut, it comes before the Kakaraha. Then the question comes, if that is the case, then why have the Takara as an it in the sut in the first place? If you are going to say Sutkat Purvaha, then Takarasya Prayojanam Kim, what is the point of having the Takaraha? The Takara is for Visheshanartham, because in some place Panini wants to refer specifically to this sut and not to any other su. So for example, in the sutram there is a sutram 8370 which we may study later on, 8370, and in that Panini specifically mentions sut, the sunt. So here you look at the sutram 8, which is not today's topic, but here Pari Ni Vibhya Seva Sita Saya Sivu Saha Sutta Stu Svanjam. So here it's talking about the Murdhanya Deshaha. But anyway, for the element Sut, now if Panini did not have an it letter on this Su, then how do we know what Panini is talking about if Panini simply said Su? in 8370, maybe he's talking about the dhatu su. Because some of these are dhatus. So if Panini just said su, then there'd be a confusion here. We would think it's just dhatu called su. There is a dhatu su. So, sunoti. So then, but when Panini says sut, now we definitely know he's not talking about a dhatu su. He's talking about this sut, which is being discussed in this section from 61135 onwards. So that is Visheshanartham. So even though we don't need, there is no application for the Adyanta of Takitao, but still Panini has put takara as an it in sut, so that he can use that takara to identify this su, to tag this su specifically, and not to confuse this su with the dhatu su or any other su. So it is Visheshanartham. Okay, so one more time, this adhikaraha, which starts from 611. See, all these rules are so very simple, isn't it? The good news now is that we have completed the difficult parts of Vyakaranam. Tingantam Prakaranam is the most involved, at least in terms of the prakriya, the derivations, the steps, the interactions. The Tingantam Prakaranam is the most involved. And that we have finished now. We are finishing today. So look at these sutras today. They're all very straightforward, very simple. You should now have a lot of confidence to look at a sutra and not be afraid reading the vritti and making sense of the sutra. So this simply says adhikaroyam paraskara prabhuti nicha sanyayam iti yavas. This element sut is annexed immediately prior to the kakaraha. This is adhikara sutram, which exerts its influence all the way up to the sutram 61157, paraskara prabhuti nicha sanyayam. Okay, but right now we're trying to derive the form samskaroti. So in this adhikaraha comes this sutram 61137. It says samparibhyam karotau bhushane. So samparipurvasya karotehe sut syad bhushanarthe. Always read the vritti. It really is completely takes away the mystery of the sutram, and it gives it to you in a very simple, straightforward sentence form, taking into account all the anuvrittis and any other paribhashas, any adhikara sutram. Everything is included in the vritti. So it says samparipurvasya karotehe. So when preceded by sam or pari, upasarga sam, upasarga pari, then karotehe here refers to dhatu kru, ikshipo dhatu nirdeshe. Ikshipo dhatu nirdeshe, when Panini uses shtip to refer to dhatu. So karoti does not mean the specific form karoti. It means a dhatu kru. Ikshipo dhatu nirdeshe. This is something which we had studied. Let me see if I can find it for you here. Ikshipo dhatu nirdeshe is a vartikam. Ikshipo dhatu nirdeshe. Let's see. I can put it here for you. I'm sorry. Okay. Ikshipau dhatu nirdeshe. Ikshipau dhatu nirdeshe. I think it must be here. Ikshipau dhatu nirdeshe. No, let me see. Maybe it is. Try to look at it differently. Shtip. No. Okay, let me try something else. Dhatu nirdeshe. No, maybe it's in Sutta Suchi 1 probably. Let me try that. Dhatu nirdeshe. Here it is. Sorry. July 23rd. Ikshipo dhatu nirdeshe. Iti vaktavyam. So this shtip or ik or shtip may be used by Panini to refer to the dhatu. So karoti, when Panini says the karoti here, he's not talking about just a specific form karoti. He's talking about the dhatu kru. So says karotehe means kru dhatoho. Sut syat bhushanarthe means to ornament, to decorate. So when preceded by the upasarga sam or pari, the augment sut. Okay, no, sutkat purva is adhikara coming here. Okay, is annexed to the verbal root. This when used in the sense of ornamentation or embellishment. The Kashika has a little bit part of it here. Samparyupebhya karoto bhushane. The Kashika also adds the upa to that. I think the Siddhanta Kaumudi takes it as a Vartikam. But anyway, right now we need some. But in the Kashika, the sutram is samparyupebhya karotau bhushane. In the Siddhanta Kaumudi, it is as samparibhyam karotau. I think this is the way it is in the Bhashyam. So this is what Kaumudi has given. But this upa is added by Kashika from a Vartikam. The sutram itself, Kashika puts upa. In the Kaumudi, it's put separately. So, and we know by sutkat purvaha that this augment sut will attach before the kakaraha. So, one more time is that this dhatu kru, when preceded by the upasarga sam or pari, takes this augment to sut when the meaning that is being conveyed is that of ornamenting, decorating, and we know from the adhikara sutkat purvaha that this sut will attach itself to the prior to the kakaraha. So let's try this. Let's derive these two forms. Samskaroti. There it is the dvisakara rupam, ekasakara rupam. There are two sakaras here. There's one sakara here. It's optional form. So samskaroti. There are two forms. So this derived from dikrin karne with the upasarga sam. Samskaroti means he decorates. Somebody decorates. See, decorates here meaning you have to take in a little bit of an expanded sense. It can also be to refines, or to kind of, in a way, to make it better in a certain sense. So it's not exactly like putting like an ornament on something. It has to be taken in a slightly broader sense. Like Sanskritam is a refined language. So decorated language means it is a refined language. It's an advanced language, kind of something like that. So decoration doesn't just mean specifically like hanging jewels or something like that. So it can take a extended sense. Also, the sutram may be used because Panini himself has sutram samshrutam bhakshaha. So Panini himself uses this sut agamaha when the meaning is not exactly to decorate. Samshrutam bhakshaha. Here, samshrutam bhakshaha. Bhaksha means something like is. This is talking about refined decorating in the sense of cooking something. So that's also kind of decoration, isn't it? So Panini himself has used it not in the exact sense of like decoration, like we think. So decoration is any kind of like refining or things like that. So okay, now let's derive this form with the dvisakara rupam and ekasakara rupam. Samskaroti and samskaroti. So karoti form already we have derived lat lakaraha pratham purusha ekavachanam. When we add upasarga sam by upasarga kriya yoge te prag dhatoho. Upasarga kriya yoge is paradayaha. When they are used kriya yoge, they get the sanya of upasargaha. And they go te prag dhatoho. They go before the dhatu. Upasarga paradayaha. Upasarga kriya yoge te prag dhatoho. So then we have so it comes before the dhatu, sam plus karoti. Now the conditions for applying the sutram have been satisfied. We have sam, upasargaha sam. Following that we have dhatu kru and adhikara of sutkat purvaha. So, and we assume the meaning here is some kind of decoration or refining. Or then this sut comes before the kakaraha by sam paribhyam karotau bhushane, followed by the adhikara of sutkat purvaha. Now in the sut by halantyam, the takara is sanya, the ukara has uchcharanartham, uchcharanartha ukaraha. Okay. So anubandha lopehe, we get sakaraha. So sam sa karoti. So now we have to use another sutram here in order to get the ru adeshaha. And look at the number of the next sutram, 835, samassuti. Now this section is very well known to us. It is very well known to us because we use this sutram naschavya prashan very frequently. We have been using the sutram 837 naschavya prashan. We have used it for last 2-3 years now. It should be very straightforward. So right before that, a little bit before that, comes this samassuti. So if you want to practice any of these rules, naschavya prashan, for example, you can go on the website here and you can just put the sutram here, 837 naschavya prashan. I'm sure you'll find at least a few places where it has been used. So this was talking about a ru adesha, naschavya prashan. Let us see what it gives. See, it gives nashivara sutram. If you look at it like in a post like this, for example, it gives an example of naschavya prashan. It says here, where are sutram naschavya prashan being used? So if you look at over here, these examples and posts are the backbone of the class. We cannot, take every detail in the class, but in the examples and the comments, we can put a lot more details and practice. So it says bhavan cha. So naschavya prashan 837. 837. Also, you also have the sutra suchi here. We can go and look at the details of 837. Naschavya prashan. Nakarantasya padasya. Prashan varjitasya. Rur bhavatyam pare chavi parataha. If you have a padanta nakaraha, but not the nakara of prashan, it takes the ru adesha. If it's followed by a letter of the chav pratyaharaha, chav. What is the chav pratyaharaha? When we recite the Mahasha Sutrani, it is the cha, ta, tha, cha, ta, ta. That's chav. But that chav itself has to be followed by letter of the pratyaharaha. So that is what this sutram says. So of course pratyahara includes all the vowels, and then it also includes the hayava, rat, lanya, mangana, nam. So what we need to have, we have a padanta nakaraha followed by a chav followed by a So what do we have here right now in this example? We have the nakara of bhavan, which is the padasanya for bhavan suptingantam padam, and is followed by cha, which is the chav pratyaharaha, and the cha itself is followed by akaraha, which is an Then what happens is nakara takes the ru adeshaha. And this in this adhikaraha, which runs from 8.3, this ru prakaranam, which runs from here to down up to 8.3.12, there is these two adhikara sutre, dve adhikara sutre, which is atranunasikaha purvasya tuva, nunasikat paro anuswaraha. So what happens is that when we continue this example here, that this nanunasikat paro anuswara, when this ru adesha comes, the ru adesha prescribed by this section in 8.3, then what happens is that the prior vowel is either nasalized. Okay, that's by 832. Atranunasiko purvasya tuva. Or what happens is that if the nasalization is not done, then following that vowel, we're talking about the vowel prior to the ru, it takes, following that vowel comes the anuswara agamaha. The anuswara is an agamaha, remember that. While this anunasikaha, the vowel itself gets replaced by a nasalized vowel. So this will become an adeshaha. Well, this is a agamaha. So one of these two is done. Either the vowel prior to ru is nasalized, replaced by a nasalized version of that vowel, or following that vowel, which is prior to ru, there is a anuswara agamaha. And in the classical language, most of the time, only the anuswara agamaha is seen. Comes in Bhagavad Gita. Tam sathaiva bhajamyaham. Bhagavad Gita. So that Naschavya Prashan used the Gita in a few places. One shloka which comes to mind to me right now. Tam sathaiva bhajamyaham. Tam sathaiva bhajamyaham. Sathaiva bhajamyaham. Bhajamyaham. Okay, here it is. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sathaiva bhajamyaham. So tan plus tatha. So it's padanta nakaraha followed by a chav letter, itself followed by akara, which is a letter. So 837 applies. Nakara becomes a ru adeshaha. Then prior to that ru, the vowel which is the akaraha of tan, that either that akara becomes nasalized, it becomes a anunasikaha, or following that vowel there is anuswara agamaha. In the classical language there is only the anuswara agamaha. Most of the time anuswara agamaha. So Gita example is here, chapter 4, number 11. Good example for naschavya prashan. Naschavya prashan. Okay, so then what happens is that we nasalize, either nasalize the prior vowel, or following that prior vowel we bring the anuswara agamaha. And then we do apply usual rules, karavasana yor, visarjaniyaha, visarjaniyasya saha, nestoscha, we get bhavamscha. Okay, so the similar steps you're going to follow now. Similar steps we are going to follow now. So what we have here is that we got the sut prior to the kakaraha. So we have sam sa karoti. Now samasuti, 835 samasuti. What Sutram is saying that samo rusyat suti. When the augment sut follows the makara of sam, so following samaha, then the makara of sam is when the augment sut follows. When the augment sut follows, the makara of sam is replaced by ru. When the augment sut follows, the makara of sam is replaced by ru. So give me 1 second. Let me just get these borders off here. Okay. Here, samasuti. Say, look at the number 837. We already know very well this number is 835. 835. The number we already know is 837, naschavya prashan. So 835 is going to do similar things as 837, which is very well known to us. We just went through all the steps. This sutram is simply saying samaha. In place of sam, we make the ru adesha, because that's the prakaranam which we just discussed. From 831 starts this ru prakaranam. This ru prakaranam starts from here. So in Ashtadhyaya there are two places the ru prakaranam comes. One is this one in this section here, and other one of course we know sasajusho ruho and all that. So that one we know back here. Okay, so these two, so this is also ru prakaranam over here, starting from here. Now the this, of course, these two adhikara sutre, atranunasikaha purvasya tuva, as well as anunasikat paro nuswaraha, they apply only to this ru prakaranam, which is from 831 to 8312. Okay, so this sutram says that in place of sam there is a ru adesha when followed by sutta. Sut. Here again see Panini says suti. So Panini can specify sutta. If he said sau, there will be some confusion. What is this sau? So he says suti. So that takara of sut is visheshanartha. Okay, so now alontyasya, let's not forget alontyasya, is that when you do any substitution as a default, it only replaces the ending letter of the item being substituted. Alontyasya makarsya sthane eva, makarsya sthane eva, makarsya sthana eva. In place of makara only, makarasya sthane eva rurbhavati. So alontyasya, only the ending makara of sam is replaced by ru because it is followed here by sutta. So we get the ru adeshaha anubandha lopaha upadeshe jananasika it tasya lopaha, we get sar skaroti. Now just like we derived this form over here, which we just went through all the details, we have to either nasalize the vowel prior to ru, or we have to bring in the anuswara agamaha following that vowel prior to ru. So in the classical language mostly we bring the anuswara agamaha only. So now what we do is that using this sutram 834, which is anunasikat purvo anunasikat paro anuswaraha, anunasikam vihaya. If anunasikam is not done, anunasika adesha is not done, anunasikam vihaya, then paro anuswaraha. So we use 834 to this 832, 834 exert their influence on this section up to 8312. Okay, so 832, 834 they govern this section up to 8312, and we are using 835 right now. So we have to use them. We have to apply one of them. In the classical language, mostly 834. So then what happens is that there is anuswara agamaha following the akaraha which is prior to the ru. Okay, so we get Sankaroti. Now we put instead of this, we could have put the Anunasika Adesha, but that's as a convention in classical Sanskrit is not used. So now, of course, we apply Kharavasanayor Visarjaniyaha. Kharavasanayor Visarjaniyaha. We have Sankaroti. Now, what would have happened here? We should have got the Vashari. Vashari. Let me say Namah Shivaya, etc. So when the shar pratyahara follows, then what happens is that this visarga can remain as a visarga, right? Or it can take the shar adesha. So it can, so vashari. I think the number is 8336, I believe. 8336 vashari. Vashari. Visarjaniya adesho va bhavati shari pare. So it optionally gets the shar adesha. So there are two forms here, vashari. Visarjaniyasya visarjaniya adesho va bhavati shari pare. So because if you look at this section 8.3, what happens is here that visarjaniyasya saha. But otherwise it is sharpare visarjaniya and vashari. So when shar follows, it could stay as a visargaha, or it could have had the visarjaniyasya saha. As in Namah Shivaya. When you have the visarga namaha plus shivaya, we can get namaha shivaya or become namah shivaya. Then of course after that stoshchunashchuho namah shivaya. There are two forms. The same thing would have happened here. Is that it can, if you taken a sakara adeshaha atva visarjaniyasya visarjaniya adeshaha. What does Panini mean by visarga becomes visarga? Means that it doesn't undergo any change. You don't touch it. You leave it alone. Either you leave it alone or optionally make the sakara adesha. So visarjaniyasya saha definitely is coming, but then if shar follows, then the visarga can optionally stay as a visarga. That's basically the gist of it. So one more time is that when the visarjaniyasya saha is 8334, be right here. 8334 should be right here. Visarjaniyasya sakara adesha bhavati khari parataha. When any khar letter follows, visargaha takes the sakara adesha, visarjaniyasya saha. But then Vashari says, if that khar letter happens to be a shar letter, shar of course is contained in the khar, then what happens is that visargaha can optionally stay as a visargaha. So that's what would have happened here. We would have had two forms here. The visargaha staying as a visargaha or becoming sakaraha by visarjaniyasya saha. But we don't want that. We don't want that. Under the visarjaniyasya saha, there is a vartikam. There is a vartikam which forces the sakara over here. Doesn't give us the optionality of 8336 that vashari needs to be stopped. We don't want vashari to apply here. That's not a desired form. Tena nishtam syat. So we want to stop that. So to stop that vashari, there's a vartikam. So there's sampunkanam so vaktavyaha. Sampunkanam so vaktavyaha. Under visarjaniyasya saha, there is a vartikam which says that a visargaha belonging to the term sam, pum or kan is replaced by a sakaraha. Sampunkanam so vaktavyaha. Visarjaniyasya saha. So the vartikam, always anytime you have a vartikam, you take it in the context of the sutram in which the vartikam is stated. All these vartikani basically have their root in the Mahabhashyam. And in the Mahabhashyam, the vartikam is stated under a particular rule. So this vartikam is stated under visarjaniyasya saha. So we have to understand the topic of the vartikam to replace a visargaha by sakaraha. It says that sampunkanam so vaktavyaha means a visargaha belonging to the term sam, which is what we're doing right now, or pum or kan is replaced by a sakaraha. Right now we need to be interested in the sam. Now, so there will be no vashari, there will be no pakshikam rupam with the visargaha itself. So visarga has to become a sakaraha. The visarga belonging to the sam, pum or kan has to become a sakaraha. Okay, that's what it says. So there is no optionality by 8336. Okay, then so what we had before, we have some visargaha and then Samskaroti. So you became Samskaroti by Sampunkanam Sobhaktavyaha. This Vartikam stops 8336. Okay. Now, how do we get the Eka Sakara Rupam? We say Sanskritam. We don't put two sakaras there. We put only one sakara, don't we? So how do we get the Eka Sakara Ghatitam Rupam? The form which is formed with one sakara. For that we need to use a Vartikam in the Mahabhashyam, which comes under 8312. Remember that 8312 is also in the same section, the Ru Prakaranam. The Ru Prakaranam, which we have here from 83:1 it starts up to 83:12. This Bhashya Vartikam, which you are going to see next, also comes in that same Prakaranam. What does that mean? That means that these two Adhikara Sutre, which is Atranunasikaha Purvasya Tuva, as well as Anunasikat Paronuswaraha, they will also exert the influence on this Vartikam. You understand? So one more time. The Vartikam which we are seeing next, it is in the Mahabhashyam under 8312. And 8312 is in this same section, the Ru Prakaranam, which we have been discussing. So, when we do the operation prescribed by the Vartikam, which you are going to see next, we have to keep in mind that the two Adhikara Sutre, 832, Atranunasikaha Purvasya Tuva, as well as Anunasikat Paronuswaraha, they will also have to be honored by that Vartikam. It's coming in that section. Okay, so what does Vartikam say? Is that Samova Lopam Eke. Eke means some people. Eke. So Kechid. So some people say that when the augment sut follows, the makara of some takes lopaha. Optionally elided, it takes lopaha. Remember here, what is we said samasuti, we did the ru adesha. According to some people, according to some grammarians, what happens is that this sutram samasuti says that samaha rusyat suti. Okay, but this one is saying that when the augment sut follows, same condition sut follows, the makara of some is optionally elided completely. So instead of taking the ru adesha, according to some grammarians, the makara is elided. So what if we continue the same example, when you have some karoti, we had that step, then instead of makara taking the ru adesha, makara is still lopa bhavati. Keshanchit mate. So in the opinion of some grammarians, this makara takes lopaha. So we get a lopa adesha. Lopa is also an adesha. So sa karoti. But as I just reminded you that this Vartikam also has to honor the Adhikara Sutra 832, 834. And as we just mentioned that in the classical language, it is mostly 834 which is used. So the vowel preceding that Adesha, in this case Lopaha, following that vowel, which is the Akara here, we have to put a Anuswara Adesha. So one more time. This Sutram 834 as well as 832, it governs the section up to 8312. This Vartikam is under 8312. So when we perform the Lopa Adesha by this Vartikam, we still cannot forget about 832, 834. So 834 has to be applied, and we have to put the Anuswara Adesha following the vowel which was preceding the Adesha which was done by the Vartikam. So the Vartikam put a Lopa Adesha. Prior to the Lopa Adesha is the Akaraha. Following that Akaraha, we have to put the Anuswara Adesha. So we get Samskaroti. So we finally get, so instead of 834 we use 832, but in the classical language mostly 834 is used. So Samskaroti, we get these two forms. We got Samskaroti or Samskaroti, two forms. So Dvisakara Ghatitam Rupam, Ekasakara Ghatitam Rupam. Okay, so one more time. What we started this whole section with the discussion of Sutkat Purvaha. So Adhikara runs from 61135 to 61137. And this simply says that this element Sut is attached prior to the kakaraha. And this governs the section from 61135 61157. In that section, we looked at the sutram which says samparibhyam karoto bhushane, is that if this dhatu kru is preceded by the upasarga sam or pari, then the sut comes there, and we know that by the adhikara of sutkat purvaha, that this sut will come before the kakaraha. We're deriving the forms samskaroti and samskaroti. We looked at a sutram samasruti, which is very close to our well-known sutram naschavya prashan. So this simply says that this sam takes the ru adeshaha and followed by sut. By alontyasya, the ru adeshaha, it replaces only the ending makaraha. And then when we put the ru adeshaha, we know the adhikara sutra 832, 834, the classical language 834. So we put the anuswar agamaha, be careful, anuswar agamaha, following the vowel which is the akara preceding the ru. So the vowel preceding the ru, the akara, it following that vowel, the akara, we put the anuswar agamaha, and we got samskaroti. Then we, of course, we applied karavasanu visarjaniyaha, refasya sthane visargadeshaha, visargaha skaroti. And then we would have had vashari giving us two forms, either visarga stays as visargaha, or we get the sakara adesha. We don't want that. We want to force the sakara adeshaha. So the vartikam does that for us. Sampunkanam sovaktavyaha, it's a vartikam under 8334. So we stop 8336. We don't get the optionality of 8336. So vashari is stopped, and we simply put the sakara adesha nityam. And then we get samskaroti. But to get the eka sakara ghatitam rupam, to get the one sakaraha, we have to go to the Mahabhashyam. There's a vartikam under 8312, which also comes in the same section, the same Vyakaranam. It says samovalopam eke. According to some grammarians, they say that this makara of sam, instead of taking the ru adesha, it can optionally take lopaha. So instead of 835 samastuti ru adesha, it can take lopaha, pakshika lopaha. So when we do that, we still have to use 834 to bring the nuswar agamaha. Makara takes lopaha, we get samskaroti. So the words, so now you know how to derive the word samskritam. So how that whole word is derived, samskritam, it comes from there. Okay, so that is one small topic which we had not taken up earlier. I realized that, so we just put it today, because today we're going to finish the Tingantam Prakaranam. So that is the topic of Sutta. So this is the section which you want to remember from 61135 to 61152. Of course, in the class we cannot take every sutram. We took one example here. If we encounter more, we'll put them in the post or the comment. But now you know the basic idea of the Sutta. Okay, now we'll look at a couple of more rules over here in the special use of some lakaras. So it is the Vishesha Prayogaha. Let's look at this one sutram. Look at the number 3212. 3212. 32112. 32112. We are very well familiar with this section because we know 32110, which is the sutram lung. Even before that, we know the adhikara of bhute. Adhikara of bhute, which starts from 3 to 84. Adhikara of bhute, 3 to 84 starts bhute. So these affixes which are going to be prescribed in this section, they are to be used in the past tense. So adhikara of bhute goes up to 3 to 123, vartamane lat. So from there, vartamane starts. And then that goes up to 333, which is bhavishyati. So that's the future tense. So this is how Panini puts the kalanukramena, in the order of time. Panini puts the adhikara ashtadhyaya also. So bhute starts from 3 to 84. Vartamane lat, vartamane starts from 3 to 123. Bhavishyati starts from 333. Which of course we referred to all of these previously. So Ruth Sutram we are going to look at now is a special form in which the rit affixes, which rit, what do we normally, rit is used in the future tense, isn't it? Because here comes rit. Rit comes in the bhavishyati adhikare, and that is lit she cha. Lit she cha, like you know, this default future tense. And then we had the anadyatane lut. So this is like the what we call the default future tense, lit she she cha. Now, but this 3-2-1-1-12 is going to prescribe a special use, and here Ravi is giving me a nice example. Shishupala Smrityado Dashratir Bhavan Amum Manantad Vanita Paharinam Payodhim Abadza Chalaj Jalavalim Vilangya Lankam Dikasha Hanishyati. So this Hanishyati. Jala Vilam. Ravi, you there, Ravi? Jala Vilam or Jala Valim? Avalim. Ravi, you there? Unmute yourself. Let's see. Ravi is muted.
Yes, sir.
What is Jala Valim or Jala Valim, right? Or Jala Vilam?
I think it's Vilam, Satish.
Vilam. Jala Vilam. What's Jala Vilam? Okay,
Satish?
yes, what is Jala Vilam exactly?
I think it is Jala Vilam.
Jala
It's
Vilam.
the bridge.
Oh. What is Vilam? The bridge is Vilam?
I think it's Avilam. Chatat Avilam.
Payodhim Abadha Chalaj Jala Vilam. Okay, look it up. Maybe let me know what that word is. I can put it in the class. Because the word is Avilam, is it? Vilangya Lankam Nikasha Hanishyati. Anyway, look it up before in the comment. Let me know what the word is. Okay, so anyway, in the Maga, what's the shloka number here, Ravi?
I'll give it to you, Satish. In a minute.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So there's a nice example in Shishupala Vadham in the chapter 1, and which Ravi will get the shloka number. Anyway, so this is Hanishyati, Bhavan Hanishyati, which actually is a past tense. See, this looks like a future tense because these forms are used in the future tense, but this is used as a past tense. Abhidnya vachane lrit. Abhidnya vachane lrit. So in this, we are familiar with lung, anadyatane lung. Of course, lung is a default past tense, but the past tense exclusively not of today. If you have to use a past tense exclusively not of today, lung has to be used. But then abhidnya vachane lrit. Abhidnya vachane lrit. Avila. Okay, turbid. Okay, avila means turbid. Okay, thank you. It's verse 1.68. The word avila means turbid. Yes, so it is the entire shloka is like this. It says that Smrityado Dashrathir Bhavan Bhavan Amum Vanantad Vanita Paharinam Payodhim Abadya Chalajala Vilam Vilangya Lankam Nikasha Hanishyati. Nikasha Hanishyati. So he's talking about a prior event when this has already happened. So that is, so you will kill Ravana. You already killed Ravana in the prior. So this is not a future tense. It's a past tense, and the word avalim means turbid. Okay. So Magha. This is the Magha Kavyam, which is Shishupala Vadham. This is Narada talking to Shri Krishna, reminding Shri Krishna that he already killed Ravana in his prior avatar. But the form used is Hanishyati Bhavan. But it is a past tense. So that is why the special sutram, Abhidnya Vachane Lrit, what it says is that Smriti Bodhini Upapade. Smriti Bodhini Upapade. Upapadam, when there is a word close by, in connection with a word, which is talking about recollection, reminding somebody of something which happened before. A word denoting recollection or reminding about a past event. Smriti bodhini upapade. Bhutanadhyatane dhatul rit. Of course, the anuvritti which we just saw here, we have the bhute adhikaraha. We also have anadhyatane, we have so bhutanadhyatane, but rit is being used. Okay, let's look at in the presence of an adjoining word implying recollection, a verbal root takes the affix rit, not lung but rit, the sense of past, not of today. Sapavada for anadhyatane lung. Normally lung should have been used. Like smarasi buddhyase Krishna gokule vatsyamaha. Gokule Vatsyamaha. Do you remember? Hey Krishna, Tam Smarasiva Buddhyaseva. Doesn't have to be the dhatu smru. A dhatu in the sense of recollection, remembering. You remember, Krishna, we used to live in Gokula. We lived in Gokula. You remember that. So Smarasi Krishna Gokule Vatsyamaha. This Vatsyamaha is not a future tense. Is not a future tense. Even though this dhatu was, by the way. And this sutram used is just to, I mean, that's not today's topic, but sutram used sasyarda dhatu ke. The sakara takes the takara adesha. Sasyarda dhatu ke. Sasyarda dhatu ke. Will be somewhere here. Sasyarda dhatu ke. Sasyarda dhatu ke. Here the sakara taking the form vatsyamaha. The sakara of was taking a takara adesha by sasyarda dhatu ke. So if you want to practice the sutram, go on the website and look for 7449. You'll find some examples. So this sutram, this vakyam seems to say that we will live in Gokula, but that's not the meaning. This is actually conveying a past tense. That's why this sutram is important to know. So something which looks like a future tense is actually a past tense meaning. A past tense meaning is saying that what it really means is that, hey Krishna, oh Krishna, do you remember? Do you remember? Remember we lived in Gokula? That's what it means. Krishna, you remember we lived in Gokula? We lived in Gokula. So that is what it is saying. So Gokule Vatsyamaha means even though it looks like a future tense, the form is the same. The form Vatsyamaha. If you forget this part, just forget this part, and then if you just take Gokule Vatsyamaha, it will mean we shall live. We will live in Gokula. But when you tack on this word smarasi or buddhyase, then it takes a special meaning of conveying a past tense. So smarasi atva buddhyase, hey Krishna, Gokule Vatsyamaha, which means Krishna, you remember? We lived in Gokula. We lived in Gokula. So watch out for the special usage. This is when the rit is used in connection with a word which implying recollection or remembering recollection. Then that same affix rit, which we are normally used to in this rit she, I think it is 13 probably. Yeah, we use in the future tense, which is our mostly our usage like karishyati, gamishyati, all these forms, bhavishyati. That same rit conveys a past tense meaning, but that is only when there is a term in upapadam, is in connection with, pronounced along with a term which in recollection. So this sutra 32112 comes right after 32111. Anena etasya sutrasya smaranam syat. You can remember this sutram. You can remember this sutram. That the sutram is coming right after anadyatane lang. It's right after that sutram. And this says that smriti bodhinya upapade bhutanadhyatane dhatu lut. Same condition as lung, but there has to be the smriti bodhinya upapade. Then lut is used to convey a past tense meaning. Okay, very, it's a strange usage, so we have to spot this one and be ready. So just keep at the back of your mind that this lut can convey a past tense meaning when used in connection with this word which implies recollection. Okay. Now another very useful sutram, lat sme. This sutram also comes in the same section, little bit lower. Remember a sutram parokshe lit, which is 32115, parokshe lit 32115, 32115 parokshe lit. So like Arjuna vacha, babhuva, chakara, all these means that same condition bhute, anadyatane, but parokshe, when in the sense of past, not of today, an action which has not been experienced by the speaker, then this affix lit has to be used to convey that past tense. So it has to be a past tense not of today. It should be an action not experienced by the speaker. So, but in that below that comes a special sutram, says lat sme. This affix lat, which is normally vartamani lat, bhavati, karoti, etc. That same affix lat may be used to convey the meaning of a parokshe, anadyatane, bhute. But it has to be used with sma, with the avyayam sma. There's an avyayam called sma. So what the sutram says is that lat sme means look at the number. Always look at the number. You know exactly what to expect. We are in the bhute adhikara, which runs from 3 to 84 bhute up to 3 to 122, because 123 is vartamane lat. So talking about the usage in the, so immediately we know we are talking about a past tense, a usage implying a action happened in the past, and it says lat has to be used, but sme is lito apavada for lit when associated with the word sma, the avyayam sma. The verbal root takes the affix lat in the sense of past tense, not of today, anadyatane, anuvritti coming from 32111, provided that the action is not perceived by the narrator, parokshe. So parokshe, anadyatane, bhute, lat, but sme, it has to be used with sve, associated with sme. So it says that apavada for parokshe lit, yajati sma yudhishthiraha. You would say yudhishthiro yaya iyaja, yudhishthira iyaja. So with the dhatu yaj, if you had the lit form, you become iyaja, samprasaranam. So by like uvacha, you get the form iyaja, samprasaranam by 6.1.17. Your samprasaranam by 6.1.17 had iyaja. But instead of that, instead of using the form iyaja, so this would have been used for the form iyaja to get samprasaranam. Instead of that, what happens is that we use this sutram 32118, lat sme, because sma has been used. Instead of using, let's see, yes, Ravi has the same example. Yajati sma yudhishthiraha, correct. So this what Ravi is also confirming the example, is that this example says that yudhishthiraha iyaja. Iyaja means Yudhishthira conducted a sacrifice. But so lit would be used because clearly we don't, this is action not pursued by us. So it's a bhute anadyatane parokshe. So we say Yudhishthiraha iyaja. But when we use a sma, then we have to say yajati. We don't say iyaja. We overrule the parokshe lit and we instead simply say Yudhishthiraha yajatisma. Yajati is lit as lat lakara, of course. Normally vartamane lat, but this is not vartamane. It's the lat being used in a past tense in a special situation where it is used in connection with the avyayam sma. So yajatisma conveys the meaning of iyaja. So the yajatisma, so lit form with sma conveys the meaning of, lat form with sma. Yajati is lat. Lat form with sma conveys the meaning of a lit form. So yajati sma equivalent to iyaja. And the next sutram says aparokshecha. So even if it's aparokshe also this usage can be used. So all the same things here, but we drop this condition of unperceived. It says even when it is perceived. So when associated with the word sma, so bhutanadyatane lat syat sma yoge. When associated with the word sma, a verbal root takes the affix lit in the sense of past. So this lat, I keep saying lit, affix lat. So lat affix, which we are used to in vartamane, it is used in the sense of past tense when in connection with sma. So in this case, even if it is not parokshe, we can still use the lat to convey a past tense. So it is evam sma pita braviti. Evam sma pita braviti means braviti is a lat lakara. Pita, if you forget this evam sma, we just say pita braviti means my father or the father says. But if we say sma braviti means the father said. So thus the father said. Evam sma gurur vadati. So means that this is what the teacher said. So here we have a lat lakara, which is used in a sense of normally present tense by vartamane lat, but when you in conjunction with sma, that same lat lakara now conveys a past tense. And this is not parokshe, this is aparokshe. The father said in our presence, or in the speaker's presence. The speaker experienced the action. So this is what thus the father said, and I was there. I experienced the action. The speaker experienced the action. So this, when you add in connection with sma, the lat may be used to convey a past tense, which is anadyatane, not of, it has to be still anadyatane. Don't forget, that condition is still there. It has to be a past tense exclusively not of today. Okay, that's one thing. Don't forget that condition. But it may be parokshe, it may be aparokshe. Either one is fine. But as long as it is anadyatane, not of today, exclusively not of today, the lat lakaraha may be used, but it has to be used with connection with sma, the avyayam sma, to convey a past tense, which is either parokshe or aparokshe. If it's parokshe apavada for lit, it may be used like this. Yajati sma yudhishthiraha convey the same meaning as yudhishthira iyaja. And evam sma pita braviti, the sma braviti is same as abravit. Same as abravit. So instead of saying pita bravit, we can say sma braviti, means the same meaning. So this is the special use. It is very useful in speaking. If you want to quickly convey a past tense, and you don't want to go through the derivation of the lung or the lit, you can just so tatra sma nivasami, Bharata deshe nivasami sma. I lived in India. So Bharata deshe nivasami. So sma, just say, you use a lat lakara, but use sma with it. So Bharata deshe nivasami sma. So that's a quick way of going, giving the past tense. And the last sutram, which I want to give, very simple sutram, nothing special, but it is Vartamana Samipye Vartamana Vadva. This is the sutram 33131, from which starts the Lakarartha Prakriya. Lakarartha Prakriya starts from this sutram 33131, which Panini gives some special, the various meanings which lakaras may be used. 33131. Vartamana Samipye Vartamana Vadva. We've already seen sutras such as this one, Vijini Mantrana Mantrana Adhishta Samprashna Prarthaneshu Ling Lotcha. See, these sutras already we have seen. So Ashishi Ling Lotau. So these kind of rules we have no. Samskritam Adhiye Sma, Ravi says. I studied Samskritam Adhiye Sma. So anyways, in this sutram Vartamana Samipye Vartamana Vadva, this sutram this is the sutram from which starts this prakaranam, Lakarartha Prakaranam, giving the various meanings in which lakaras are used. So this sutram is very straightforward. All it says is that Vartamane ye pratyaha uktaha. So those affixes which have been prescribed Vartamane, te Vartamana Samipye Bhute Bhavishyati cha Vasyuho. So basically all those affixes which have been prescribed, affixes like lat, in the sense of Vartamane, they may also be used to denote an action which is in the immediate past or future, close to the present. Vartamana Samipye. This Samipye is same as Samipe basically. So this is Swartheshan. So Vartamana Samipe. So when to denote an action close to the present tense, doesn't have to be present, it may be in the immediate past or immediate future, very close to the present. The same affixes which were prescribed for the present tense may be used to denote an action which is close to the present tense, which means an action which is in the immediate past, very, very near past or near future. So here, Vartamane ye pratyaha uktaha, pratyaya uktaha, te pratyaha Vartamana Samipye Bhute Bhavishyati cha Vasyuho. They may be used. They don't have to be used. They may be used to convey an action close to the present, means in the near past or near future. Very near past or very near future. The affixes which have been prescribed by the rules starting from Vartamane lat up to Unadaya Bahulam. So up to 3 through 123, all the way to Unadaya Bahulam. In the present tense they have been prescribed. They may also be optionally used to denote an action in the immediate, very near past or in very near future. For example, Kada agatosi, Kada agatosi, when did you come? When did you come? He says, Ayam agachami, this me, this I am aham, this I just came, I'm coming. I'm coming means I just came. This means agachami or agamam. Of course, agamam is a lung lakara. I have just studied agamam. There's a chance to practice your lung prakaranam. That is gamdr. So remember our sutram way back, which is the pushadi dyutadi. Remember that sutram? It's hard to pronounce sutram. Pushadi dyutadi rizitaha parasway padeshu ang. So that is gamdr. So agamam. And agamam means I came. So because remember, lung is a default past tense. We can only use lung anadyatane. Lit also anadyatane parokshe. So if I just came, I have to use lung. So ayamaham, this me, this I, just came. I just came. We can say, instead of saying agamam, lung lakaraha, we can just say agachami. Yes, and the is agachami. Now, so this agachami is a lat lakaraha, using it to denote an immediate past, something which just happened. Rather than saying ayamaham agamam, you can say ayamaham agachami. So this me, this aham agachami. So I am coming. I'm coming means I just came. So this let is used to denote an immediate past. I'm coming. You say in English, you can use English also same thing. When did you come? I'm coming. I just came. I'm just coming. In English, we say I'm just coming. So kada agamishyasi is same thing. When will you go? Esha aham. So this me. So esha aham. Gacchami. Gamishyami means soham eshoham gamishyami. So esha aham eshoham gamishyami. So this me, I'm going. When are you going? I'm going. Means I'm just going. Means I will go in the very near future. So gamishyami atva so gacchami. You can say gacchami or gamishyami. So this is a particular usage of lat. It is kind of intuitive. In English also we may use that when you say, when are you going? I'm going. I'm just going. If you're saying I will go soon, you can say I'm just going. Means I'm going to go right now. So when did you come? I'm coming. Means I just came. I'm just coming right now. So same thing here. Kada agatosi ayam agachami. So this me ayam aham agachami. I'm coming means I just came. Athva ayam agamam. I came. Kada gamishyasi eshaha aham gamishyami. Eshoham gamishyami. So that is a lat lakaraha, but conveying a action which just happened, very just happened. Oh, sorry, this is going to happen. It is just going to happen. So eshaha aham gamishyami athva gacchami. So this lat conveys the meaning of the immediate future. This conveys the meaning of the immediate past. I just came, or I will just be going very shortly. So you can say eshaha gamishyami. That completes this section of the Tinganta Prakaranam. It's been about a year and a half, long time, and of course we cannot take every sutram in the class, but you should have a very good idea of not only of this Prakaranam, but the Panini Vyakaranam. How does Panini put the affixes in place? How does he do all the interactions? How does he do the Anga Karyam? The various operations, Guna, Vriddhi, Lopaha, Sampasaranam, all that, Agamaha. What is an Agamaha? What is the Adeshaha? And how the rules can interact, how they overrule each other, and all these special things. So this is a very important section. It is the heart of Panini. I said at the beginning of the class, without Panini Sutrani, it is not possible to just memorizing all these forms. So now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the class, we're going to change the class format from now on. What we are going to do is that from the next prakaranam, which is the Kridanta prakaranam, we start in the participles. What we will do is that in the Sutra Suchi itself, we will upload the videos of the recording for that sutram. We'll upload that in the Sutra Suchi. We'll put a link on that. So you can click on this link right here and download these or play these small files which are just for that sutram. It's going to be very convenient for all of us because in case there's an error in the file, we can simply discard that particular file and put a new one. Not only that, we can add more sections to it. We can delete something. We can even insert some things in between, and we don't have to strictly follow this schedule of 2 weeks and 3 weeks for the class, etc. We can go at a faster pace, at a modified pace. It will be convenient for us and convenient for the students also. This file will be much smaller, so you don't have to like download the whole class and search for a sutram. You can just download the recording for that sutram. And as always, this is only a starting point. These have to be corrected, they have to be edited, but we will have a very quick way of uploading these. So these will be uploaded not only to Sutra Suchi right here, they will also be uploaded to the wiki page. For example, here in the wiki page, that sutram, you will see the video recording right here. This will also be uploaded to our usual class recordings page. So that will not stop. You will also see them here, the class recordings. So today Ravi will upload the last webinar. So webinars will be ending with this Tinganda Prakaranam. From now on, we're going to make it easier and more flexible, where we'll upload individual recordings, smaller recordings at our pace, which we don't have to wait for a class in 3 weeks. We can upload these recordings in between. And I mentioned it to Brahmachari Shankarji. Brahmachari Shankarji has given us his blessings, and he has some ideas also to how to add further levels of detail to a sutram. So if we upload a recording and we need to add more details, we can also tack on a recording to that. It's very easy to combine the recording files and edit them and chop them and all these things. So this is what is going to be from now on. So one more time, this is the last webinar. We will not have a set schedule of classes, but we will make it more flexible. So everything with regard to these examples and the posts, they're all going to stay the same. But you will get an email periodically telling us which recordings have been uploaded. So for example, this section here, first of all, we're going to start a new Sutra Suchi now. Sutra Suchi number 3, because we finished this prakaranam and the Sutra Suchi is becoming too big. So we're going to start a new Sutra Suchi, Trityo Bhagaha. And from now on, we're going to put the video recording right here next to the Sutra. And we will send a group email saying that Sutra recordings for these rules have been updated. So then you know that whenever you want, at your convenience, you can download them and listen to them. And they will also be showing, they'll be showing here, they'll also be showing in the wiki page. So in the wiki, it'll also be showing here in the wiki page, and it'll also be showing here in the downloads page. So you can also download them from here. So what you could do is you could just come here and look at the latest sutras which have been uploaded. So if you want to just come here, after the webinar classes, you will have the recordings for each individual section, each individual sutram, so that you don't have to download the whole. If you want to look at only one sutram, you don't have to download the whole class and go through it. You can just look at that sutram. And as I said, there's many advantages. We don't have to be tied to a particular schedule. It's convenient for us and for you. And second thing is that these files can be, if there's an error, for example, today I had an error in that form kanduyate. Now, if that happens in the future, we just remove that file, put an edited file in place, so you can look at the new file. So if it's as simple as that, we can add to the file, we can edit the file, we can combine the files. So all these things can be done much more easily. Actually, this whole thing started because one of the students in Coimbatore, he was taking the classes and splitting them up and giving to some other people. So then we started thinking, we can do it ourselves. We can have the individual sutras recorded and uploaded. We'll make it convenient for everybody. We'll maintain the order. At the end of each sutram in the recording, it will be mentioned which is the next sutram. So this order will still be available to you. So even though we'll upload the individual sutras, but this document is still there. So you can see after 3191 comes 3194, 31. So the order will be here. But we may also insert a sutram in here if need be. Sometime in the future, let's say maybe we decide that there's a new sutram required, we can just insert a sutram here. So here we will insert, we will put this in the documents. You will have the order, but you will also have the ability to record, to download this individual files. So, and as always, request is that if you see any errors, if you see any omissions, if you have any suggestions, let us know. We will try to improve as always. So this is the last webinar. It's a very, very good timing because the Tingandam Prakaranam, the most important, complicated Prakaranam of Vyakaranam, is today finished. Today, the grace of Panini and the Acharyas and also Brahmachari Shankara, whose idea this was to have these classes. This Prakaranam is finished, but now we'll take it to the next level. The next level is that we can go at our flexible pace, probably a faster pace, and easier to maintain and update and edit. So there will be a change in the format. So the webinar will end today. We will not be using webinar anymore, but you will have the ability to, at your own convenience, look at the recordings, and the posts and comments will continue as usual. Okay, so today is August 25, 2012. This is the last webinar. From now on, we'll do the recording upload. Ramo Rajamanis Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bhiyata Nishachara Chamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha Rama Nasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham Rame Chittale Sada Bhautume Bho Rama Muddhara Rama Rameti Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane Rama Nama Varanana Onnama Iti. One more time, since the last webinar, we do the Mangalasharam one more time. Ramo Rajamanis Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bhiyata Nishachara Chamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha Rama Nasti Paranam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham Rame Chittale Sada Bhotume Bho Rama Muddhara Rama Rameti Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane Shri Rama Nama Varanana Onnamaiti. Are we okay? And thanks to Ravi for being the backbone of the recordings. Are we okay, Ravi?
Yes, Satish.
Okay. And Ravi, if we can,